John Heller. Good morning, brother. How in the world are you doing?
Good morning, Lucas. I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. Awesome to be here and chat with you for a little while.
Absolutely, dude. It is going to be a blast. So the way this came to be is you and I were chatting about KPIs, productivity, efficiency, all of the like. And we're kind of going back and forth. And one of the things that I find really frustrating is that there's a lot of people who, they're not tracking the numbers, but they want their business to improve. And so you cannot manage what you do not measure. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't know what the number is, you don't know what the number does, and you don't know what affects or changes that number, your business is going to have a pretty hard time improving. And especially if you don't know any of the numbers, right? Yet time after time after time after time, I talk to shop owners who say, everything is wrong. This isn't working. I don't like this. But they don't know their numbers. And I'm like, hey, so let's look at a P&L and let's look at your GP per hour. Let's look at some other factors, ARO, and build hours, things like that from the shop. And they say, well, I don't know any of that. What's that mean? Yeah. And then you find out that they're using paper, right? Like I'm talking about a piece of paper, bro. I'm talking about they're writing out repair orders on these carbon copies. And you shared some really cool stuff with me. Now, I had seen the report, and we've talked a little bit about that. But we were talking about this magazine that just does analytics. Is that the best way to explain what they do? They basically provide information about industries, and they talk about technology and how it's affecting those industries. And I pulled this little clip out, and it says they're talking about like a mobile repair service, and it's talking about a scheduling system. It says the platform tracks the skill level of technician, work hours, the work undertaken to not only optimize the schedule, but learn from the data to make mobile jobs more efficient. The van operation, which has a really great rating, has seen a 70% increase in productivity and more than 200% increase in utilization just by using a piece of software.
Yeah.
And so I get really frustrated when we're talking to these shop owners, and they don't even know the numbers. They don't even know where they're missing in the shop. They just know something doesn't feel right. Yet when we talk to them about software like PartsTech, we talk to them about software like Shopware, they say, no, I don't want to do that. That's too much stress. That's too much aggravation.
Right.
Are you hearing that a lot? Is that?
Yes. And I, in fact, was just in my local repair shop here a few weeks ago, having a conversation with a guy. I know him. I see him around town all the time. We do a farmer's market here where I live. He comes by. And so I'm talking to him in his shop. And the guy is exactly what you mentioned, paper-based. Everything is handwritten. Even, quotes or things of that nature he gives me is handwritten. And I'm having a conversation with him saying, hey, have you thought about taking it to the next level? And he gets a little bit red in the face, like I'm coming after his finances. And I think, he was starting to get a little defensive, saying, hey, I'm trying to pry into how you keep track of your finances. And I was like, dude, that is not it. I am just wondering how you keep track of everything in this flowing shop that you have. He does great work, and I'm a repeat customer because he does great work. He's honest. I can trust him. But the guy is still in, the 80s or 90s from a tech standpoint. And unfortunately, I've suffered from the wrong set of tires being installed. I ordered a set of winter tires and I got the wrong size put on there. And there's been a few things here and there that I think some of these shops that are, really wanting to figure out how do they get better in their customer service should start looking to some type of tracking system, some type of digital tool set to help augment the process and the trust that they've built with their customer base.
For sure. And I think this is something that I'll be completely vulnerable and honest here that I've struggled with a little bit, is that when we moved to a larger facility, in other words, not necessarily even when we moved, but as the shop grew and we started fixing the shop, there were a lot of things that I recognized I couldn't do as the owner anymore. right? Like I can't necessarily sit on that front counter 5 days a week. If I want to have a life as busy as the shop is, if I ever want to be able to take a day off, I have to have a system in place that the shop can run without me. It's not that I want the shop to run without me. I really upset a whole bunch of people the other day because I said something to that effect is like, hey, you know, you don't always want to be running the shop. You should run without you. You're not the most pivotal piece in the puzzle. And I think especially for a technically minded person, that guy that was the technician that worked in a shop and then decided I'm going to start my own shop, he feels like he is the hub of the wheel. He is the one who's going to make this shop do what it does. But the problem is if you take the hub out of a wagon wheel, what happens? It collapses. Yeah. And that's because all of that pressure, all of everything comes back to that. So every other tech's coming to the owner. How do I do this? Why should I do this? When should I do this? How much should I charge? Every advisor's coming back to the owner. And we build this system around ourselves instead of building this system around something like a quality software and a quality team that's been trained and SOPs. So everybody in the building knows what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it. And what's sad about it, right? Because you talk about this guy, right? There's a good chance that at some point he's gone to his significant other and said, the hell with this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
This is too stressful. This isn't working. If I get sick, it all falls apart. Right. And that's no way to live life. Yet he's resistant to this kind of change or this type of input.
Right.
And I thought, so when the newest study came out that you guys provided, and I've got it up on the screen, it says, what are the shop's top 3 goals over the next 12 months? And, you know, these surveys, you know how they are, right? Like everybody has their own input and they have this perspective, but 48% increase annual revenue, 47% increase profit margin, 38% increase average repair order, 27%. Okay, here's what gets me. 27% improve shop efficiency and productivity. Okay, hold up now.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the other goals are based in the last one. Only 27% of those people want to do something about that.
Exactly.
And look, I keep hearing from all these people, and we're going to upset some people. I just want you to know, if you get hate mail, I'm really sorry for it to David. He loves hate mail. We're going to upset some people because I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of shops saying, I'm out 2 weeks, I'm out 3 weeks, I'm out 4 weeks. And then when you look at the numbers, they're not. Okay? They're not at all.
Right.
They're really working on a week worth of work. And if they charged properly and they got the work done and they billed 40 hours that week per technician, they would already be out of work, but they're not efficient and they're not productive. And so then, I'm over here looking at these slides you sent me, right? And here's the other one. And I almost got sick when I saw this. I'm not going to lie. I got really upset because this is what we're trying to fix. This is what we're trying to change. And as I look at this, I see, average repair order is your top tracking number. I'm not saying it's not important, but there's far more important numbers. And then if we could just go down this list here, right? Where is productivity in this? It seems like it's like way down towards the bottom. Technician efficiency is 37%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see even that other graphic that you put up, where we've got everyone wants to make money. That's like I want to make money. And then you see this massive drop off between I want to make money and actually doing the work that it takes to make that money actually flow better for you. And as you see it here in some of these numbers, there's a stark difference between being in the 50s of what someone wants to do, make money, and then, only a third are actually starting to think about, well, I need to put something in place that actually makes me that money instead of just saying, I want to make the money. I think it's super easy for us all to say, I want to make more money. Like, yes, I want to make more money too. But to realize what are the actionable things that I can start doing, baby steps to start putting down some tracking, putting down some goals, some metrics that will ultimately help me get to that long game plan of more money in the shop.
For sure. And here's the thing is we always hear, especially when it comes to productivity, well, then I have to get people to clock in and out, and I have to do this and I have to do that. Productivity, efficiency, and utilization. right? Those are the big numbers as far as time metrics. And the problem is that a lot of technicians get frustrated when we talk about that, and they get frustrated about tracking those metrics. But here's what's interesting about it is what they don't understand. And we did a video a while back. I'll see if we can add it in here somewhere.
Okay.
But we did a video a while back where a coach was on and he said, listen, technicians, I need you to hear me. I'm not tracking your time to know if you're doing your job or not necessarily. I'm tracking your time to find inefficiencies in the process.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to this shop coach. His name's Murray Voth. And he said, Lucas, he said, the number one problem in productivity today, efficiency and utilization, is part supplies. And he said the problem is that we're ordering the wrong part. We're taking forever to order the parts. We don't know when the parts are going to be here. They start on a job and the wrong part's in the box. Something's wrong. We don't have the right information. And he said that's the number one issue, is that we're seeing this situation where we're not seeing workflow through the shop efficiently. Yeah. It has nothing to do with what the technician's doing. It's not that the technician's not doing his job. It's not that the technician is slow. It's that we're seeing bottlenecks throughout the process. And he said parts is probably the biggest one. And, you know, one of the things that I find so amusing about that, I use PartsTech here in the shop. And when we're building an estimate, you know, we follow the 300% rule, which is that we evaluate 100% of all vehicles that come into the shop. We estimate 100% of the concerns the technician marked red or yellow are on the estimate. And then we present each one of those estimates to the client. Well, if I have to call each individual vendor for this estimate process, or I have to go to Napa ProLink and I have to go to Advanced Auto Parts and each one of these web browsers, and I look the parts up and I'm going back and forth trying to make sure I have the right part. Is the information the same? Do I have the part number? I'm spending between 2 and 3 hours on one of these estimates, right?
Right.
But when I put PartsTech in place with Shopware, and I go through my list, and all I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, here's the labor time for that repair. Scroll down. Here's the part. Click the part. Look at the part description. Is it the right part? Is it in stock? Here's the price. Okay, I can look at all of my vendors at one time. Here's the place that has it in stock. So guess what? Now I'm informed, because when I'm calling my client, I know when I'm going to have the part, so I can give them good information. Yeah. I send this back to my technicians, right? And here's the kicker with PartsTech. So I send this back to my technicians. And what do? They open PartsTech and they open the image and they look at the image and they say, I can't really see in this image what that part is and make sure it's the one I need. So what do? They click the other vendor and then they open that picture and they zoom in on it and they're like, oh, that's a much better picture. Yeah, that's what I need. Right? Right. And now we can compare across all of the different part stores and find out who's got it. I can have it here quickly. And part explosions, man. I don't understand, and I'm hoping you can shed some light on this. I don't understand why shops aren't using this. Yet I talk to shop after shop, and they say, no, I'm not doing that technology thing. I've always done it this way. I've always picked up the phone and called because I like the guy over at the parts store, and I know he's going to get it right. But data doesn't show that he gets it right.
Right.
Do you have data on that? Am I just talking out of both sides of my mouth?
Yeah, I think circling back to a point you made, a couple sentences ago about this isn't an attack on the people. This is really surfacing the data that shows inefficiencies in the process. And you mentioned, the process of logging into multiple web screens, logging into, other sites that you're trying to get, confirmation, or you're picking up multiple phones. This isn't about the person. The person is doing everything they can to find the part, complete the repair order. And what they're not realizing is that there are other tools, other technologies, digital interfaces that can help them actually cut that time down by 70 or 80%. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of users using digital technology. You mentioned it at the outset here with this shop that's using some digital technology, seeing a 70% increase in productivity. We're seeing that also among our customer base, individuals using, digital e-commerce, for example, are seeing an 80% gain in time back into their shop, time that they can spend actually servicing a customer. And, to kind of think about the 21st, century shopping experiences, consumers now are trained to the instant gratification. Yes, everything has to be instant. And the minute, someone walks into a shop, they're carrying this sort of mindset into the shop of this instant sort of gratification, sort of response. I want to get on with my day. And, the technology and the advancements that are made there are really those vessels to help that shop respond to a customer in a fast and quasi-instantaneous manner if you're not having to take, an hour or two just to track down a part.
Yeah. Well, and I think it solves so much of the pushback, right? Because one of the things that we talk about often in our industry is that there is definitely a workforce shortage, right? I've called it a lot of different things. I don't think it's a technician shortage. I think it's a workforce shortage. Yeah. And one of the things that I've always found about the people that I bring in is that those who love technology, when you give them a technology to utilize in the facility, the boys, they bite into that, right? They love that because this is what they're used to using. This is what they've been working with.
Exactly.
And we're talking about productivity and efficiency, and that's huge. It really is. But when you're talking about bringing the next generation of worker into your shop and they see you using paper tickets and doing things in this antiquated way, it's not necessarily that it's wrong or it's bad. I don't want to hurt feelings, but the reality is that there are a lot of people who say, I'm not interested in doing that. This isn't what I know. I don't know how to do this. And I've talked to some older shop owners, okay? And one of their big concerns is, hey, I struggle with technology. This is hard for me. I don't want to make things difficult that I'm going to implement, and I don't know how to implement. I don't know how to make it work. And so the thing is they already have staff that's using this technology at home. They're using it in other ways in their life, so they can implement it really well. But the reality of it is, and let's use PartsTech as an example, there is nothing to learn how to do.
Right.
There's no complexity to this.
Right.
It's like going to Amazon and clicking buttons.
Exactly.
Okay?
I was just going to mention that. I don't think any of us had any training on how to use Amazon, and none of us had to go through a training course on how to look up airlines on Expedia or to book travel through Travelocity or to go to, whatever e-commerce site you're going to find what you're looking for. There is no training. It's intuitive. You jump into the website, you immediately start engaging with different ways to find what you're looking for. You get your options across several different, sources, and you move on with your day. And that's as simple as PartsTech makes it. And it really sort of busts down this idea and notion that technology is this big, ugly monster that I don't have time to figure out how to implement.
Yep. 100%. And maybe this is part of fixing some of the shortages that we have in our industry is implementing technology that makes it congruent with what people are experiencing in the world today. Yeah. And just because we're a shop owner and we've been in our little corner of the world, not needing to experience this. Yeah. Like my system works. It does what I need it to do. If we really want to embrace change and we really want to take our shop to that next level, technology is what is going to provide that opportunity. And I see so many that create a deficit for themselves, right? They set themselves back so far because they can be cheaper in some ways, right? They don't have these overheads that are associated with running a shop that has a lot of amenities. Like here, I've got loaner cars, I've got really good insurance, I've got really good technicians, I've got all of these factors that bring value.
Right.
But the consumer is really looking at this as a value equation. And when they go to the shop that has the paper tickets, when they go to the shop that says, drop it off, I'll get to it when I get to it, that's not the experience that the American consumer wants today. They want it fast. They want it clearly documented. They want to be able to understand. They want to be able to choose for themselves. And technology is what's going to create that opportunity in a shop. And, I guess as bad as it sounds, there's going to be some shops that say, hey, I just don't want to do that. Yeah. And those are the shops that I don't think have another 10 years in the field of being able to continue doing this. Yeah. I know I upset people when I say that, but the world is moving away from that at such a pace, it's going to be hard to maintain that.
Yeah. You bring up such a great point in that area of connecting with customers. The consumer is digital now.
Yeah.
And if you as a shop, you as an individual, you in any business aren't going to be digital and put yourself out there where your customer base is starting to congregate, then eventually you will get left behind. And it's a question, even day to day in our operations, we're constantly evaluating. We call them watering holes. Where are our customers' watering holes? Where do they go to congregate? Where are they looking for information? Where are they asking the questions? Let's place ourselves in that sphere for them to be able to easily find us. And I think as shops are looking for ways to improve productivity, gain efficiency, and start, setting themselves up for long-term gains, they have to be out there where those customers are. And most of that's through digital experiences.
Yep, absolutely. And look, when it comes to PartsTech, I have talked to so many people and I've said, look, it doesn't have to integrate with the shop management software for one, right?
Correct.
There's tons of ways to use this. It's free. I mean,
Absolutely.
Like it literally costs nothing. If you want to improve your business, if you want to get some efficiency, if you want to speed things up a little bit and you just need a little bit more, or you want to kind of dip your toes in the water, like there is no better way to start, right? Like this is literally the best, cheapest, easiest, fastest way to start is giving your service advisor or you or whoever's on the front counter the ability to look up parts faster and have better information right in the palm of your hand immediately.
Exactly.
Like, why would you? I just, it's frustrating for me because I don't understand why they keep pushing off this technology. Do they tell you why they don't want to move forward with technology?
It goes back to some of the things you mentioned early on. They're used to doing it a certain way. They've built a relationship with an individual where they procure their parts with, and they just feel comfortable going back to that source. We even had a story of an individual, though, who told us, I've been calling, let's call him Bob. I've been calling Bob for the last 20 years. Well, guess what? Bob retired. And now the person in his place isn't as responsive, and they're really struggling on getting all the parts that they need. So why not hedge your bets? Use a free digital service that brings together multiple sourcing options for you across unlimited suppliers. We don't cap how many suppliers you can bring into your field of view. You can bring in as many as you want and find the parts that you need with a few clicks.
It is a really cool offering, and I was so excited when we first started using it because I genuinely saw tremendous increases in the speed of the estimates coming out, right? Yep. And even, I'm not an advocate for over the phone quotes or estimates, right? I don't believe in doing that. Sure. I don't think it's right. But if you have a client call and say, hey, I need an oil service, I'm going to give them a price for that oil service. Now I'll price each one based on the vehicle. With PartsTech, literally in seconds, I've built that estimate. It's on the screen, ready to go in just a few seconds, right? Just a few clicks. And I know I can say, hey, yeah, absolutely, we can get you done today. And we're talking to all these shops right now, and they're saying, hey, we're really slow. Those are those opportunities to get that client in the door who's never used you before. You're fast, you're responsive. Everybody else they're calling is saying, all right, if you want to, I'll make you one, I'll send it over to you. Right? And it's 30 minutes, an hour. They've already got their oil changed by then. Right? They've gone down the street to the Take 5 or whatever it is, and they paid their $99, $100, $120 to get their oil changed. Probably not using the correct filter fluid, but whatever. And if I can compete with that through technology, I give myself way more opportunity.
Absolutely. Shops, what we've seen in studies, shops aren't increasing bays. It's just not, feasible for many shops out there. So what they're left with is bringing customers in and turning those bays over, working with what they have in a more efficient manner. And I believe PartsTech really helps shops, again, at no cost to the shop. This is really a win-win situation for a shop. We're not, offering this for 30 days free, and then we start siphoning money off of your credit card. There's no credit card that will even ask
free.
So,
it's literally free. And it's so bad because you tell people that and they're like, yeah, but what's in it for them? Yep. I'm pretty sure they're going to get me somehow, right? And I mean, isn't that a sign of the world we live in today?
Exactly. Exactly.
And look, the parts explosions, I want to cover that for just a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've put enough information on that. The parts explosions. One of the major things, and if you see in the group at any point in time, I'll jump all over people for this. They'll say, I've had this bay tied up for 2 days because I can't get parts. We don't tie bays up, people. Okay. You don't ever tie a bay up. Well, I can't put it back together. It'll take me longer to put it back. I don't care. Push the car out. Yeah. And they say, yeah, but why? Well, that bay is worth $230 an hour in most cases, sometimes up to $400 an hour. And and you can figure that there's numbers out there to figure out what your bay's worth. And if you're telling me that it costs you more to put it back together and push it out than leave it sitting in a bay that's worth $300 an hour for 3 days, you're smoking crack. Yeah. Okay. I don't care what you say. I can't put it back together. Everything can be put back together. You're going to put it back together when you give it to the client. Even if you have to put a cab back down or put parts back under it, put jacks under it, call a tow truck, whatever you got to do, you can't afford to tie the bay up unless you're not swamped, right? Now, if you don't have any cars in the parking lot, that's one thing. I get it. But with parts explosion, what this does for you is it means that as you're building your estimate, you can open up the explosion of the part that you're on. Now you're looking at it and you see that part. And you say, well, there's a gasket and there's some bolts and there's some other stuff around this. I should probably think about ordering that stuff just in case.
Yes.
Or, hey, I didn't realize there's copper washers or a line that has to be replaced over here. And part explosion allows you to see that. And at least you can have it sitting there. So now your technician's not surprised, stuck with something in a bay that's costing you $3,000-$4,000 a week just sitting there. Right. So I think that there is no good reason for not implementing PartsTech in your shop. I'm sorry, there's just not.
No, there's not. And to add a little bit of color to the exploded, diagrams that we have within PartsTech, we hear from multiple shops that has saved them time and wasted effort in ordering the wrong parts. And the confusion of, I got the wrong part and I've got to spend time returning it. To your point, you can go in and grab everything around that part that you need because it's visually presented. It helps you be proactive instead of reactive on the repair. And then thirdly, we see shops tell us time and time again, with the workforce thing, which we talked about a little bit earlier, I've got some new techs in, I've got a new service advisor, being able to sort of surf around on a visual diagram and find what I need that way. Gets them up to speed, gets them contributing to the shops in a much more efficient manner. And again, this is free functionality within PartsTech.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think every apprentice, I think every shop owner, I think everybody should at least have an account, log into it and look at it and understand what we're talking about. I don't care if you don't think you're going to utilize it. Just log into it one time and look, and you'll see what we're talking about. It's that simple. So, John, thank you for being here today, brother.
Thanks, Lucas. I appreciate you having me on here. It was great talking with you.